Good evening, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are in the world. Welcome, Free Enterprise community, to this, our Monday night community race. I am Nth, and on Restream today for this wonderful and very fascinating pig-themed seed we have for you tonight will be a Stone Dingley in the top left corner, Klopfer in the top right, Poitrak in the lower left, and Tybalt in the lower right. Joining me on the Restream team tonight is, of course, Alizel on the Restream, NG Dave on tracking, and on his first commentary shift with us today, Professor Renderer. How you doing today?
Hello, I'm doing fine.
All right, well, before we get started, we've got a good amount to go over with this flag set. For those of you who aren't familiar with the beta branch that is going to be premiering in the main randomizer sometime in the near future, I would imagine. There is a very unique flag going on in this particular flag set that I don't think we've used in a restreamed race yet, and that is going to be the See No Earned flag. So we're going to be seeing a seed in which the only characters that our players can get will be the ones that they get for free in Mysidia, the Watery Pass, Damsian, and on Mount Ordeals, and that's going to change things quite a bit.
Yeah, and one of the flags that I'm actually really interested in is that force hook one where basically you have to use that hook to get into the underground. There's no bailout with the magma key.
Yes, of course. And there's one other big twist for those of you who are not entirely familiar with our wacky challenge flags or our April Fool's Day flags this past year. This has the Men Are Pigs flag on, so all male characters in the seed will have that pig status on permanently. But that's not going to affect us right away, as we are going to see a Rosa and Rydia start with a pass as the item. So pass is actually going to be a bit of a dead key item in this case, because there's no Z fight in this flag set.
No, we are dealing with win game, which means as soon as they clear all their objectives, that's it. It's game.
Absolutely. And, you know, this is a really, really interesting series of objectives to have with Win Game as well. We have Rescue the Hostage on Mount Hobbs, which you wouldn't normally do with no earned, because there's no point, so we're making you do it. Defeat the bosses of Dwarf Castle, which means you have to get through that hook route no matter what. Also got Baron Castle, Tower of Zot, and Burned Mist with the package, so really, realistically, you only need 4 or 5 key items to get through this seed. So it's going to be interesting, because this could either be very short or quite a bit of a slog for our runners today.
Yeah, we're already seeing 2 players going to the Mysidia checks. It is a Edward and a Sid.
Now that's really interesting to me, because I did a practice seed of this earlier, and my thought process was, all right, Sid's fine, but Edward, you can go get all your other characters, you can send Edward over to that Tower of Wishes, and you can just leave him on the ground as an anchor for the rest of the seed. Pick him up when you need him. You're going to have to get through that hook route, which means you're probably going to want anchoring at some point in time later, so this seed actually lends itself really, really well to giving you the tools to do that. In addition to that, Klopfer's also found silk webs in the Mysidia shop, which are going to help him a great deal as well.
Oh yeah, especially considering that we do have free shops enabled, which means you don't have to pay anything.
Absolutely. And we also have the free key item, which a Stone Dingley is going to check here from Bed Edward, and there's that hook. So that's going to lead to the big question of how much of the overworld do you do, knowing that you do not get your underground access from any of those checks.
Yeah, because like I mentioned earlier, that force hook flag, meaning you have to use that hook either way to get to the underground. So yeah, that's a really important question that will come up sometime in this seed.
Definitely, and that hook boss could end up being the most difficult boss in the seed, but also going back to the flags, as we are seeing Stone Dingley picking up a Porum here in Watery Pass. Going back to those flags, K Main is on, and the only other place you can get key items from is, of course, K Moon being on as well. So the big question to me with these flags too is how fast do you try and get underground, and how much do you hope you don't have to go to the moon afterwards? Because if you need to go to the moon because one of those gated key items is there, you might be in for a bit of a long ride in that Darkness Crystal hunt.
Oh yeah, and that Darkness Crystal could go on for quite a while.
We are seeing some good gear coming up so far. There was a Protect Ring and a Zeus Gauntlet in the Watery Pass. Seeing some okay stuff for sale in Silvera down on Poydrak's side. We've got an Ogre Axe for that Sid, as well as anyone else who might pick up and needs them. Headbands as well. So really, the seed is doing a very good job of giving them the tools they might want to get through this. We're also seeing Tybalt taking a very early gamble going through these trap chests in Castle Eblin. He's not nicknamed Tybalt the Gambler in the Discord server for nothing, so we'll see if this ends up paying off for him in the long run.
We did run a Siren down in Eblin, and mostly because we do have T Wildish enabled.
Yeah, definitely, and that's going to make those trap chests all that more valuable. I don't believe that Tybalt got anything particularly good out of that initial run. I don't believe he was fighting the trap chests either. I believe he was resetting out. We do see a Dwarf Axe up on the Stone Dingley side as well, and that could be a very, very big pickup if our runners want to, say, use a Sid as an anchor and just drop that Dwarf Axe on him to knock that 5 agility off and keep him nice and slow for the rest of the seed.
And correct me if I'm wrong, this also does open up the ability for back rowing as well.
It sure does. In the beta flags, there is the ability to have the back row glitch off, but it is enabled for this particular flag set, so we will be able to see that put into action. We'll be able to back row anyone who can equip axes, so Sid, Kane, and Cecil, should we find them anywhere in the seed. We are seeing a Yang up on Klopfer's side, which is an interesting pickup. And hey, there's that Kane over on Stone Dingley's side up in that Mount Ordeals location.
Oh yeah, that Dwarf Axe is good at be coming into play really quickly here.
Yep, and because we've seen all 7 characters, we know there is no Cecil in this flag set, and I believe we're trying to remember who we're missing. I believe no Edge either at this point in time, because we've seen all 7 characters available to them at this point. And also for those wondering on that, for part of making this a bit more of a fun flag set as opposed to a punishing flag set, with that Men Are Pigs flag on, which Piggy status disables all non-attack commands, basically. I believe item is also available. We did just go ahead and remove Tella, Palom, and Fusoya from the seed so that you're not getting a character that you can't use.
Yeah, and we're seeing Klopfer going through that hook route. We asked this earlier, how early will the runners go and do this hook route, and the Baka Swine ends up being along the hook route.
That's very interesting to me, because I had suspected that we might see, possible double white mage kind of setup with Rosa and Porum, just so you can at least berserk and try and get things going in places. I don't believe you can berserk the pigs, but if you have like an attack Rosa, you can go ahead and berserk her and get her going with infinite Artemis arrows, that sort of thing. But in this case, you don't need that double white mage. I think we'll probably see people stray away from it. I think we're definitely going to see a lot of use of that Rydia that Klopfer's bringing all along as well, especially if we can find a very, very good summon somewhere along the way.
Yeah, and also the chat's bringing up too. Even though you can't use Berserk on the pigs, Avengers do help out with that mitigation.
Definitely, and we're also seeing that it is going to be Antlion in that Rubicant spot, which is not the best, not the worst, pretty average to me, at least, in terms of trying to get through there. So that might be a little bit of a relief to some. On the other hand, you don't have a way of damaging him without triggering counters, really, because you don't have any other abilities on your party. Unless Kane can jump in piggy status. Can Kane jump in piggy status?
It looks like you can, according to our tracker.
Thanks for assisting that. Pigs do in fact fly. That's good to know. Good to know. So they do have a way of dealing damage, but just a Kane jumping is still going to be a very long fight. So that might be a little bit trickier than it would be in other flag sets to get through. We'll end up seeing as we go through there. I don't think Klopfer's going to go all the way, but we are going to see Dingley over here going down and finding either Rubicon or elements in the Antlion Cave.
And Tibble checking out that summon. It's just Shiva.
Yeah, it's not the huge ticket item you're looking for there. It's not like a Sylph with the Sylph glitch where you can just basically infinitely cast it. It's not a Leviathan or a Bahamut that could push you through, especially Leviathan. But it is an okay pickup and will have some uses, especially if he goes down to take care of that Rubicon, as we are going to see a Sand Ruby here on Dingley's side. Bad news about that Sand Ruby here.
Yeah, that's not going to be all that useful, considering he's considered an earned character, and there is no earned characters.
Exactly, and you know, it's really interesting because I would be very tempted to reset out at this point in time. I think obviously walking back out is just as valid as doing that, but in this case, I'm not sure our runners are going to get to 10 key items in this flag set unless it goes really long, and I'm not sure you necessarily need the XP boost, so it's interesting to see these sorts of bits of strategy really starting to pull their way into the seed at this point.
Stone Dingley going into Fabul. Going to look like get some items here and also see what the boss is on that Fabul gauntlet.
That Fabul weapon and armor shop looked like it was custom built for an Edge or a pre-swap Cecil, and we know they aren't here, so that's very unfortunate. We are, however, going to see Tybalt be the first on the board with an objective, going to get through this Mount Hobbs fight and go ahead and mark objective 1 off. Unfortunately, that will be the only reward for it, but, you know, required objective to win the game is still progress towards winning the game.
Yeah, and that's the only thing that matters, is that it's that it is an objective. We need to clear it out of the way, so you may as well get rid of it. And we have a Golbez on the Fabul gauntlets. Oh, this is going to take a while.
It is. It's probably better to see him there than in a possibly worse spot later, but at very least he's just going to waste time with a cutscene as opposed to anything else. I wouldn't be surprised if we see another runner fade Fabul at some point in time during this race, but we will see what happens, and Poitrak going to go ahead and cure the pig of the fever, which is, of course, very important. So let's make sure that we note that he does win the humanitarian award for making sure that the pig was properly taken care of there.
Yeah, at least, and the good news is that you can't hold on a pig, but it will still fall to Shadow's Demolish.
Yeah, it is a little bit unfortunate. In some regards, you kind of hope that you get Golbez late in a flag where you have like T Wildish on and hope you get ribbons ahead of time so that it fails. But on the other hand, getting him out of the way early is good, and it will be a key item that we haven't seen yet. So I'm very eager to see what he ends up getting once he gets through here. Should not be too much longer on this fight either, although Rosa does go down. Kane, I believe, is reflected with that Star Veil, so just gonna wait for Golbez to sort of take himself out here.
Yep, and that does it.
Alright, so we just got a little bit of a cutscene here before we see that, and it is interesting to me the slight divergence that we're seeing in party composition here. Both Dingley and Poitrak have taken that Porum with them. Only a full moon for that Fabul check, so that is not really going to end up being worth the time outside of the little tiny chunk of experience it will give that full moon for an edge that we know doesn't exist, which does mean only really leave Baron Inn and Mount Ordeals left on the overworld. And here's the big question here. Is anyone going to go for Mount Ordeals knowing that it's 3 bosses and a key item, but there's no Tella or Cecil to upgrade from that, so it's quite a long time.
Dibble wanting to use that Sand Rupee as a way to rest up. Interesting use of it.
You might as well just take a quick boost where you can before heading on to the next thing. And as was just mentioned in chat, we do have the spoon flag on, so if we do end up taking that Edward further like Klopfer is doing, we could see the chance of an Edward really getting going as long as we see that no adamant flag being off payout. As long as we see an adamant somewhere, we could get adamant pig spoonward, and that's all we really need.
And as someone was asking in the chat, there is Super Smith enabled, or Smith Super as it is now being known due to the added Smith change called Smith Alt.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, I hope that we see the pig stick. We have someone who can equip the pig stick because we have a cane on the table. I will admit that because Dingley has changed all of his character names to be like just pig names, I have no clue who he has in his party at this point in time, which is exactly how we want it. So that would benefit him, but I don't believe that Poydrak has him. I believe that Klopfer does, though.
Oh, and that second boss during the bar scuffle is Odin.
That is another interesting one to have out of the way early. Not a particularly difficult one that you can easily get through, but one that could be tricky in the bad enough location where it has enough. And we are going to see half of that Smith there, so all that's left to try and do on the overworld, should our runners want to go for it, is Mount Ordeals. And at this point, that is the big question. Mount Ordeals, or do you just head straight into that hook route?
Ooh, oh, that's a tough call, honestly. With Rubicante being the antlion,
It's a bit of a difficult kind of situation where I almost wouldn't be surprised if we see a runner gamble on trying to use a siren somewhere else to try and make up some experience before going to that hook route. If you head to the top of Mount Ordeals, you pop sirens up there, you get Lilith. It's not bad XP if you think that all you're gonna really need is just to go underground, but it's looking like we're going to be doing quite a bit of the underground checks as well, so I think most of our runners will probably try and hold on to it until later. So I do like this play that Dingley's making, just heading straight up Ordeals, just get all those overworld checks done.
Yeah, you might as well take care of it while you're here. Even though if we had a Cecil, it would be a paladin, but pigs, so they can't be paladins. Or they could, I don't know.
That is a good question. I'll need more insight on that. Hopefully chat can illuminate a little bit on whether or not pigs can be paladins or not, whether Palapig, as mentioned, or Piggy Pally is an actual thing. Pigadin's another good one.
While Stone Dingley is going through the Dr. Lugay fight over on Mylon and Friend spot.
Yeah, there's a lot of time wasters on this overworld today. We got Golbez at Fabul, we got Dr. Luggage over here, who's just gonna stand here and monologue for a while. The good news is I'm pretty sure he can't do status effects in the second form very well, because I don't think pigs can be paralyzed, so... Well, I guess we established that earlier, so... Gonna be pretty easy to just down here. The question is who's gonna be on the other side of this bridge?
Oh, that's CPU.
Oh, that's not fun. It's not gonna be a hard fight to get through, but it's gonna be a long fight. You're gonna have to basically be healing every now and again with either Rosa or Porum, so it's pretty safe because Mazer's only gonna do that percent damage, but you gotta get through all of that HP that this spot has on the back row, and that might be a little bit rough early on.
Oh, for sure. Not to mention taking out the small orbs does run you the risk of getting Globe 199.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see our runners bother taking out Attacker because, again, we do have those double white mages up on Dingley's side. Even just a single white mage on everyone else's side will be able to take care of it. Although it's not great because Rosa having the bow and arrow is going to be a pretty good chunk of that back rowable damage at this point, outside of the characters you've been able to have back row glitched. So it's going to be a long fight, probably. We are seeing Mylon and friends up on Klopfer's side. He's heading through that Baron in check at this point for his Adamant Rock. I'm going to be very interested to see what's at the top of Mount Ordeals here, because it's going to be a big change if it ends up being any of those key items that we can use in the overworld. If it ends up being that Baron key, or if it ends up being that Earth Crystal. All right, we're about to see what this Mount Ordeals key item is here. As we do see it, this is the Edward pig in the front, based off the reflection in the mirror. There's that tower key. There is that tower key indeed. That is another thing for the underground, and all that's left at this point is doing that hook route, so it's just a question of when do they feel prepared to tackle it.
We did see a sparkle. It's just a pale dim, but it is on the DKC spot, so this shouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, I mean, when you see a sparkle at the DKC spot, you almost kind of hope that it's, you know, Wyvern or Ogopogo or something that's going to give you a rough time later, as opposed to Pale Dim, who kind of just sits there and he hits hard, but as long as you have Blink, is pretty much ends up being a free fight. So gonna get through that no problem. Going to upgrade the missing Cecil. The Pigadin is off on a journey in distant lands today, and we'll see. Does Dingley go for that hook route right away? Does he go and do those trap chests in Castle Eblin like it looks like Klopfer might be doing right now?
Given that we do now have Tower Key, I can see the merits in doing it, because you do have Dwarf Castle, it's an objective, and you do have Lower Babel to deal with as well. So I say go for the hook route.
I think it's just going to come down in this case to who's going to be able to get through it quickly. And I'd like to see like the comparison of someone taking a risk on just heading down it, or if just going through the other direction here and going and trying to get as much gear as possible. It's kind of hard to say too, because a lot of the things that you could get from these trap chests that you're normally looking for, the real big ticket items like Crystal Sword or Well, there's an adamant armor on Klopfer's side, so I guess that's a definite plus for going through the Evelyn trap chest right now. And yes, this flag set, as chat mentioned, is absolutely brilliant. So big shout outs to Scala Kitty as well as Xenocat and everyone else who pitched in to work on the flags this week, because this is a really fascinating flag set to watch.
Oh yeah, and I was reading the flags before my debut, and reading them over was actually really interesting because there's a lot of the newer stuff that's added in this new beta that we're doing, and we're seeing that in full display with the no earned and the the force hook routes, and a whole slew of other things. I particularly like K Unsafer, because K Unsafer, it's just K Unsafer with an extra added bonus. I think I added a twist to it.
Yeah, it really is just a very interesting update with a lot of sort of things that, when you first look at them, feel almost a little bit like sort of side grades on what we had before, but then you think about it and it's like, wow, No Earned really just completely flips everything on its head. So we'll see if this can... I'm looking forward to the future of more No Earned flag sets, personally, because seeing people have to make their decisions on who to have in their party early on before they really know what gear they're even going to have later on in the particular seed they're running is a really interesting decision point for our runners. Well, it does look like Klopfer is going to be our first runner to actually head down this hook route. So we'll be seeing quickly the two big questions here. Does he make a stop off to look for that Mad Ogre chest? Based off of skipping that chest, I'm going to say no, just heading straight for that boss. And what is at that King and Queen Evelyn spot? Because I think that's the biggest potential stumbling block right now. Antlion can be a bit nasty, but Antlion's a known quantity here.
Yeah, it hopefully isn't something pretty bad for Upper Babel.
Yeah, the Adamant does make this a lot easier than it would be otherwise. If any of our runners don't head down Castle Evelyn, that's probably going to be a pretty big disadvantage for them. I would see the logic in that decision if they think they can handle the hook route and are willing to just take a risk, but would be unfortunate for them that adamant armor is there. All right, we are about to see who is at this King and Queen Evelyn spot with the wonderful panic sound effect that plays beforehand. And it looks like Dark Imps.
That is Dark Imps.
Oh, Dark Imps can hurt here.
Case in point, knocking down Rydia and Edward right away.
I believe we have some hourglasses, but they're only hourglass 1, so they will not keep them down. You won't get through that adamant armor, Sid, but it is going to slow this down considerably at this point. Dark Imps are one of those ones where we note that there's quotation marks around the word free in terms of free bosses, that these are free bosses if you can take care of them, not punching everyone down immediately. That Charmed will help too.
Yeah, at least the good thing about this is that Sid's only taking 1 damage each attack, and all he's really gonna do is just pelt these Dark Imps with arrows until it falls.
Yeah, and that Dark Imp hitting the other one for basically all of its health is not bad either. The really, really lucky charm proc there. always great to see when that actually comes into play. And now we'll see how he gets through. Antlion here is going to go back and drop a save. Always good to be safe here because you never know what can go wrong. But I got to think, like our tracker NG Dave said in chat, Adamant does kind of make this free right here.
Oh yeah, it really helps in this particular fight.
It looks like Tibble might be looking for the Flame Dog chest in the Tower of Zot, trying to hit on something for it. I like this play. It's spicy. I'm not sure if it'll pay off, but this could be really interesting depending on how long it takes him to find it. And as a reminder for those of you just joining us as well who might be used to some of our other flag sets, this is a flag set where you get the free key item from Edward, so even if you were to find Demist up here walking to that Magus Sister spot, it will not get him anything, so this almost certainly is just a run for treasure at this point. Unless he's forgotten that this is a no free key item, or a free key item flag set, in which case this could be a bit of an unfortunate side venture. But Klopfer is in that Antlion fight, and Edward and Riddy are both on the floor, but it's not looking too bad here in terms of Rosa also only taking 1 damage right now.
Yeah, and that's really nice because of that adamant that Klopfer found. And that was out of Eblin, one of the trap chests. And it's been doing a lot of work for Klopfer. Oh, and we have elements for Tibble and the Magus Sisters.
It's an interesting bit of knowledge, at least, that he'll know that Elements is there. It's not as great of knowledge as it could be if we hadn't seen Rubicant already sitting in that Antlion cave, but at least he knows what he's coming up against when he eventually comes back here, because again, that Tower of Zot is required for objective number 4, just can't do it quite yet without that Earth Crystal, so very unfortunate. We are going to see a defense sword from the Mad Ogre's chest over on Poydrak's side. That's actually another really good pickup for that Kane, if he wants to commit to that. Defense sword, arguably his best non-Supersmith weapon, depending on how you sort of look at the math. I know that Zoe Vermillion has done the math on it before, but I haven't seen her spreadsheet in a while, so I can't remember exactly at what level it becomes better, but at a certain point it does become Kane's best weapon should we end up using that later.
Okay, Tipple is going to go ahead and get that hook from Eddie.
Yeah, at least he has realized the slight hiccup there, gone back, gotten it. He'll know that that is going to be his hook route. Unfortunately, we did waste a little bit of time going down Zot, but we might just see him head straight down that hook route next. Klopfer, meanwhile, still in this fight. It's taking quite a while. The spot does have a lot of HP, and chunking it away 500 at a time is always going to be a bit of a journey. But he's still looking like he'll be pretty easily our first runner underground, and at a pretty good time, too. So while we're seeing Dingley making his walk up, Poydrak going through this Dark Imps fight now, having the same sort of problems that Klopfer was having, that these Dark Imps just sort of knocking over his party before he can get a lot running. But it's going to berserk that Rosa, and I think we're going to be going pretty fast once we get this going here. Tybalt now on his way down the hook route. These 4 runners are actually quite close right now.
Yeah, they're... If Klopfer and Poydrak basically in the same area as each other. Sure, Klopfer is a boss ahead, but eventually they're going to be heading down to that underground. once that antlion falls.
Yeah, I gotta think this is gonna be a big question of routing once they get underground, and that's probably gonna determine who wins, not just among our restreamers or restreamed racers, but also the people running the race off stream as well. We do have a number of other runners tonight as well. We'll be announcing their finishes as they come in. And I think it really just does come down to what order do you do things. If you find a darkness crystal, do you take a risk and go for those moon spots early? Or do you just try and power through everything else first? And I think those choices are what's going to be deciding this at this point in time. I don't want to say that what's happening right now doesn't matter, because obviously it does. Every second counts. But this closeness means that what comes after this holds that much more weight.
Yeah, I definitely see Tybalt going for that risk and going up to the dark to get that darkness crystal and go all the way up to the moon for those K moon checks.
It's definitely a possibility. He is doing these Eblin trap chests, so he'll have that adamant armor as well. I believe everyone has adamant armor. I'm not 100% sure. I did kind of miss whether or not Dingley and Poydrak did those chests. I think they did, but I'm not 100% on that. So everyone, Poydrak did not do Eblin, so that might be a bit of a disadvantage, and he might end up going for some of those easier checks because of it, whereas the other three runners might be tempted to go to that moon, and that might actually mean that if everything we need to finish this seed is underground and everyone else evacuates for the moon, that adamant armor will have ended up losing everyone else the race. So there's a lot of dynamic situations going on here.
Yeah, and that just speaks merit on how good that adamant armor is. We did see Excalibur from one of the trap chests, and Antlion going down.
That is a right around 35-minute underground in a flag set that has only really given them adamant armor and a defense sword if you find it for big power. Adamant armor is, of course, big power, but still very, very good time to get underground from Klopfer, and we'll see similar times from our other runners as well. This is still anyone's race, and we are seeing that it is Asura at the top of the tower down here, so that is pretty tempting because I believe we've seen mute arrows on one of those shops so far.
And with that, Klopfer is now in the underground with that Falcon.
Here's that first interesting question. Do you head for Dwarf Castle because it's an objective? Or do you stop right here? Well, Klopfer doesn't have the tower key, so it's definitely going to be the Dwarf Castle for him. But for the other three, do you stop right here, just turn around, head straight back up that tower and get it done right there where it's 2 checks and you know you need at least 2 more key items to get through the seed at this point?
So if I was running this, I would first get Dwarf Castle out of the way, even with that bearing or with that tower key in hand. It's just so that you can get a key item from there and 2 bosses out of the way. But there is a good reason to go up to Lower Babel. Like you mentioned, the 2 key items. We'll see how this plays out, though. But Klopfer's gonna go ahead and drop the cabin here.
Yeah, he's definitely committed to this. Did find cat claws in the weapon shop here, so going to be able to pop those onto his Yang. That'll give a nice little stat boost for him, get him really going. Yang scales harder off of levels, but any little bit of help is good. But that is a sparkle behind the throne, and depending on what this is, this could be a little bit of a painful moment. feel like you probably want to see like Plague here. You probably don't want to see other things. There's an Ogopogo. Well, at least he's not somewhere else. That's the good news here. And this shouldn't cause a huge problem for our runners either.
No. That Ogopogo being here in Dwarf Castle, it's pretty easy to take out, I'd say.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that Edward could hide while pigged. Was that the auto hide happening from low health? Interesting. Nope, gonna keep Edward out of the action, keep him nice and secure so that he gets more levels, trying to probably get that Spoonward going later. Love commitment to it. We'll see if it actually pays off, because no guarantee we'll find the spoon, but this Ogopogo shouldn't take too long to get down. Meanwhile, over on the left side, we do have both Dingley and Poydrak in their dueling antlion fights, so we'll end up seeing exactly how quickly they get through these. I kind of almost think that at some point Dingley might pass Poydrak just from the sheer power of that adamant armor, but we'll see whether or not that's going to be here or later.
It is really cool to see see the whole left side just duking it out on this ant line, just seeing which one of these two is going to get into the dark, into the underground first.
Yeah, and again, it'll be really interesting to see if either of them heads for that tower first. I do kind of think that Dwarf Castle, like you said, is probably the play I would make too. But it is a possibility, and sometimes in a community race like this, you want to just take a risk, because with how strong our community is in terms of racing, you know, everyone's getting better by the day. At some point in time, you got to start taking gambles if you want to win these big races, so it'll be interesting to see here.
That is Clawfer knocking down Ogopogo.
And Dingley is through the antlion as well. We'll probably see Poydrak very shortly after here. And that is an Octomam in slot 2. Pretty easy boss at a fairly low HP location, so gonna be through this pretty quickly here, and we'll end up seeing what the reward outside of being another 20% of the way through the seed with these 5 objectives this will end up being.
Oh, one of the things I really like about this new beta is the fact that once Rydia grows up, she gains 5 random summons. That's definitely it increases. It gives you a good chance of getting that self if it shows up amongst those 5, which means you can just spam self glitch over and over and over and over again, and you're just gonna hit health for keep your party staying alive.
Yeah, and even like a Leviathan will walk over basically every single objective we have still through here, as well as still be relevant if we end up going to the moon. So a lot of good options. I did not see what Rydia has gotten for summons. I believe Klopfer checked, but I missed what it was. So we'll see shortly if we have not seen already.
Although I did see one of them being Odin. That was one of them, but I didn't see the others.
Odin is interesting, but we have a lot of those free bosses that Odin would really help with already gone, unfortunately. The Dark Imps are gone. I believe the Baron Guards are gone. And also, there's a warp glitch on today too, I believe, and that's why we're going to see this magma key here that would have been at the bottom of Sealed Cave. Klopfer going to go ahead and pick that up, and now we'll see what Dwarf Castle is. I forgot that was on, and the Dwarf Castle was also 2 of key items here. That's a Legend Sword, so it's Smith time.
Yeah, that's always a nice thing to find here.
I mean, if this is a piggy stick, you know, we have Excalibur at home, and Excalibur at home is the piggy stick, so that would be very on point So we'll see here very shortly. Stingley, however, has gone for this, but has been punished going up this tower because that super cannon room is the alt gauntlet, which is not what you ever want to see in that cannon room.
No, yeah, alt gauntlet is turned on with this flag set, which means there's going to be checks that are going to be the existing full gauntlet is going to be just around the same enemies from this area, and getting the flan sword from Clover.
Well, it's nice if you want to go do pink puffs on the moon, but as NG Dave has pointed out, I believe it's Cecil only. So that is a complete dud. Dwarf Castle only required for the objective, meaning that this tower has to contain, well, this tower or Feymarch or Sheila 1 have to contain the path to that Darkness Crystal at this point. So we're slowly narrowing this seed down. If it's behind this alt gauntlet, Stingley's gonna be feeling a lot better about getting hit with this, because, alright, no Feymarch in this case. Or is it I thought the Feymarch chest still had its key item in this flag set.
We're going into Feymarch over on Cloth's side, or Clotfer's side.
Yeah, and one other thing too about this gauntlet I just want to touch on really quick too, as we see Poydrak also turning around heading for it, is that the super cannon room is a pushover. You normally just hit it once with someone and it's just immediately gone. So this is why this is really, really bad in this case. And we are going to see, there's the Darkness Crystal down here in the Feymarch. Klopfer has the moon open to him.
Yeah, and with that, the that K-Moon coming into play as right when that Darkness Crystal showed up.
Well, you know, if he had a Cecil, then Klopfer would be really well set up for this Tofu wave in the alt gauntlet with that Flandango sword here. But in this case, it has turned out to be a bit of a grim Flandango because we have no one to wield it in this case. So it's deeply unfortunate here. I'd like to take this moment of silence after that pun to give a shout out to the rest of the Restream team who has to put up with it again while we're sort of getting through this alt gauntlet and the antline fight on Tybalt's end. Quick shout outs, of course, to Alizel, the Restreamer, and MG Dave, our tracker tonight. A very wonderful seed rolled, and always great to have Dave giving us all the info that we possibly can. And also, of course, make sure you give a quick follow to not only them, but also my commentary partner today, Professor Render, again making his debut and doing wonderful so far. And it's been great being able to commentate with you so far.
Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it.
And of course, make sure you give our runners some love as well. Without them, we could not do any of this. Stingley now, however, through that alt gauntlet, is probably going to head up to that Asura fight and be very happy that it will be a much faster fight than getting through the cannon room for once. And then we'll see, what are those two key items from Tower, or are we going up to the moon? Well, I suppose we have Sheila 1 too at this point, so there's 3 more out still on this Earth before we have to go back to the moon. So it's gonna be a very interesting set of situations here.
Yeah, that Sheila 1 is just readily available, just going through and going to that Sylph house and just speaking the Yang.
Yeah, and not only are we looking for progress here, there's some good key items left out there that would give us good power spikes, even if we don't get progress strictly for it. So there's a lot to be said for just getting through those key item checks right now. We find a pink tail, the no adamant flag is off, meaning that we will get a free adamant armor from turning in that pink tail. We get the spoon. I believe most everyone has an Edward. You can slap that spoon on that Edward and put an adamant armor on him and watch him just destroy everything in his path and get his retribution for all the time people have called him useless, which is definitely not true with the spoon flag on. So we'll see how fast this Asura fight goes and where Dingley goes from here, because I gotta think Dwarf Castle, but then what?
Yeah, I don't know what else to do after this Ashura. I'd probably rather just go up to the moon and get that those checks going.
I think this is one of those good opportunities to sort of talk a little bit about, you know, how much a sort of play style kind of factors into this randomizer a bit too, because I think it comes down to how risk averse you are. Because there's every chance you get up to that moon and you might have a bit of a difficult time. You might be waiting until you can do a level grind up there, although there's no guarantee that you'll need a level grind anyways. Your level grind would just be to get through the moon. And it kind of becomes a question of, are you one of those players who will take a riskier style, or one of those players who will take a very safe style and just try and get through all of these underground checks first? And that's what I like about this flag set, is that there is a lot of room for that sort of expression when you have a win and you're just doing a key item hunt at this point.
Yeah, I personally like to play a bit more defensive, but I don't mind going for a risky play within reason.
Yeah, generally my style tends to be ill-informed gambles that don't pay off and end terribly for me, so I'm definitely not one to talk. But there's the package from that Asura, meaning that is a required top of tower here. Dingley going to be very happy with his choice to go up here, even if that alt gauntlet ends up being a dud, because that is going to be objective number 5 once he gets back above ground and gets that village burnt with the package. Does not have to fight the boss, just has to get through the cutscenes.
Oh yeah, that's a really nice find for a Stone Dingley, and Cloffer will be coming up on that pretty soon.
Definitely, and Tibble also going to get through this Dwarf Castle check. I gotta expect that he'll probably be interested in going through there. The big question is does this super cannon pay off? Because if this super cannon is the Baron Key or the Earth Crystal or whatever leads to that, whatever it may be, then Klopfer is going to be very badly punished for not going for that Mount Ordeals early on. So this next key item check that Dingley's about to get to as we get through these cutscenes is very, very important.
And I get the reasoning for doing this. Some people will do either the Logay spot first, then Super Cannon, or the other way around.
There's an elixir. Klopfer has gotten a huge benefit from not doing Mount Ordeals instead, because that is actually quite a bad prize in general too, because shops are free, elixirs were for sale in the Eblin Cave. Every runner who checked that shop already has a stack of 99 elixirs, I can about guarantee you. So what's the point in getting an elixir from that check? So very unfortunate there. That does leave only Sheila 1 as this last Earth check that we have not fully seen yet that could grant a key item. So I gotta think that with our runners starting to run out of Underground, that's probably going to be a thing where they just go prep that, and then we might have to see a moon dive to get further into the seed.
Points. We are go -2. That being Baron Key and Earth Crystal.
That's a very good point. That's well, it's not quite, is it? No, I think that is a required moon at this point, because yeah, Pan would just give you one more no matter what. Yeah, that's a required moon that we've got going on here at this point in time. That's a good point. Dave does make a very good point, NG Dave. Baron or Earth could lead to the other. That is the only out from a required moon at this point. So we'll see. Sheila 1 going to be very important. Klopfer heading down there to prep it right now. So gotta be seeing that very, very soon here. Meanwhile, down in Tybalt's corner of the world, we are seeing the spooky ghost hand cutscene, which does mean that he is going to be finishing objective 2 here, going to be the second runner to get that second objective onto the board. Our other two have not quite gone for it yet, so we'll see very soon when they decide to, but it does look like Dingley is raising the whale.
Yeah, I do see the reasoning for this to come up, considering where that darkness crystal happened to be. It only makes sense to go up to the moon. That is going to be more likely your progression.
Definitely. We are going to see Klopfer very quickly finishing that objective number 5, getting that Village Mist burnt. Is some CPUs doing this today, and gonna be having a bad time with a very angry pig in a moment here, but thankfully it's just a cutscene. There's no real harm done here.
Yeah, your only reason for even going up to here is for that objective. You don't even care what the pig is.
Very interestingly, Dingley getting rid of that Edward and ending up with the Rydia at this point in time, and I gotta think that that is an anchor that he's looking at, which tells me that Moon is definitely next thing on his mind once he gets done with a little bit more work here and there. That, or he's gonna try and slingshot this Rydia off of something. It is worth noting too in these flags that D Machine is not on the table. We don't have anyone who can cast Weak unless you get Rydia up to the absolutely absurd, I do not remember which level it is, level that she learns Weak at. So your grind options, if you choose to do a grind, are Sirens or Mac Giants or Doors or Behemoths, all of which are pretty good options here. So we'll see if our runners end up doing a level grind when they head elsewhere, because I'm not sure if it would be necessarily worth it versus just trying to find some moon bosses you can get through and using the experience from those to carry you through the rest of the seed. And it is just a crystal on Klopfer's side that Sheila 1 is holding on to, so required moon time.
Yep, yeah, it's time to go up with that moon. That crystal will not be needed for anything because of that win game condition.
Yeah, it is at very least one key item towards that 10 key item XP bonus. Klopfer currently sitting at 8 at the moment. As long as he gets 2 more, he can do a level grind will be twice as effective. The question is whether or not he would wait for 2 more if he plans on grinding before the moon bosses, because these moon bosses that he's about to go to are going to be the hardest bosses he will face in this seed, no matter what. Because the only other things that are left are all like Earth Crystal, Baron Key, Heart. He's not going back for Mount Ordeals unless it's the last thing on that he can do, because he's already committed to it. And those are 3 overworld checks that are not very difficult. So it's going to be interesting, because the question is, do you try and find 2 free ones and hold out for 10, or do you just do a grind if you're inclined to do it now? Or do you just not grind? My preference would be towards not grinding at all at this point.
Yeah, we've seen from these runners that despite the fact that these are despite the bosses that have been thrown at us, they can still knock them down really quick, like they're relatively quickly, I guess. But like they were long fights, but they still knock them down either way.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of what would be like a bad boss that you could find on the moon that would scare you a lot and make you feel like you might have been better off grinding. And All I can think of at this point, Val, Kainatsu, that's pretty much it. Maybe Wyvern if the Witch Burn is nasty enough to get through at this point in time. But a lot of those bosses that can give you a real hard time, like your Ogopogo that you're seeing up on Dingley's side, are already not going to be there. So I guess Evil Wall would be the other good one there. Baiken too. There's actually, no, now I think about it, there's a lot of potentially scary stuff up on this moon.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting, but Cloffer is willing to go up to that moon even without a grind.
Yeah, there is a chance that he's going to try and do a grind on the moon. If he does a grind, he might be thinking, I'll check that Hummingway shot and hope that it's Sirens, if that's the case, but I'd love to see a grindless seed. Let's go for a grindless seed. We have not seen Magus Sisters yet either. Magus Sisters at a bad spot could also be pretty terrible.
It also does open up the opportunity for a small grind if you let what was it, Cindy or one of the Magnus Sisters up. Just to let him stay alive.
You could grind off the Magus Sisters if you went to the right spot. Yeah, you just leave Cindy up. You just take out Mindy and maybe Sandy if you can get her out before Cindy does her revive, and just repeatedly keep going until you get through at that point in time. So it is possible if you want to do a level grind to do it off of Magus Sisters, but I think at this point we might have some other options that are more appealing. I think if we see any of our runners go for experience, they might just go down Cave Bahamut, take those 3 behemoth fights down there, and then head back up and just start doing bosses. But we are going to see Klopfer looking like he's going to do the standard bottom-up moon play. So probably going to head to that ribbon room first, which does have the chance to be that 2 key items right away and could just be go mode in and of itself.
And Stone Dingley getting through the Dwarf Castle fights. Crystal has been stolen.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see very soon here what Dingley does next. We're going to see Poydrak going down and getting that Darkness Crystal. It is just a question of routing at this point. And maybe the question right now is, we know that the moon's been forced. The 2 questions on my mind are, did someone who is off stream take the gamble to go to the moon earlier than this? And number 2, does someone else take the top down moon instead of the bottom up moon and end up winning for that? And it looks like Plague is a bit lost and currently 1 door over from where he normally is, as long as I'm remembering correctly which one is which. But that's a pretty easy boss to get through here. You just gotta knock a party member over or just go through it, if I'm remembering completely correctly, and Count still kills you through your adamant armor.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're seeing here from Klopfer, just negating the count timer over on Rydia, just so that it can restart anew, and they don't have to really worry too much.
Yeah, all Plague does, if you're a bit new to the randomizer, first of all, welcome. Make sure you join our Discord if you're interested in running this game. It's a great delight to play casually and also fun to race, as we're doing today. But if you haven't seen a Plague fight before, all he does is he just floats there and he casts Count over and over and over again every time he detects someone who the count is over on. And that's it. And Count just doom. It just knocks over whoever's at 0 when it ticks over to them. Unfortunate that he lost Yang and Sid there, but fortunate that he now has 2 people to revive to reset that count timer once again. So this might take a little bit longer just because of the bit of a loss of damage there, but it's pretty safe, and losing characters there is not a big deal, thankfully.
Yeah, given how Klopfer's been managing the count timer, that's Rosa. That Berserk's Rosa is doing a lot of damage.
I mean, 4,000 a turn is not bad at all, and Yang is also there doing 400 a turn and then holding up like a piece of paper with a 0 at the end of it every time he punches something in the hopes you won't notice. But is going to go down again, does have Rydia fall over as well, needs to get one of them back up, and Edward is going to come out of hiding now. I believe Edward does not have a count on him, so this should reset the timer again. But we'll see. Blake might fall over before that anyways, and it's down on the Klopfer side. Alright, this Ribbon Room is extremely important. The Ribbon Room is your Adamant Spoonward starter kit here, the spoon and the pink tail. So a real good damage boost to Edward here, and that'll help quite a bit. Probably not going to go back to turn in that pink tail at all at this point, I gotta imagine. If you're already taking care of moon bosses, you're not gonna head back to just turn in a pink tail, and once you get back down, you don't need that adamant armor to take out Zot and Baron Castle, so we might not see that pink tail get turned in, but that is also 10 key items on Klopfer's side, so he might end up getting a pretty good boost just from that alone through sheer force of the added XP he'll be getting to make sure that his characters are really hitting hard on these last 4 bosses he's going to have.
Oh yeah, and already Edward is getting loaded up here. We're going to see that that spoon Edward coming into full force here.
There's that Baigen that we were a bit concerned about. Baigen hits really, really hard when he's in the wrong spot, and I believe this might be one of the spots where he's a little bit spicy. He's only hitting for about 500 though, so it's looking like it's going to be a pretty manageable fight, if a little bit of a long one. Just going to have to get Rydia back up at this point. The problem is not quite doing enough damage to take those arms down particularly quickly, so this could be a bit of an interesting situation here.
Yeah, and also Rosa getting knocked down alongside, but that life will keep her up still.
Yeah, that's really doubly unfortunate too, because if there's a character you really, really want to make sure is up right now, it's probably that Rosa, so she can get a few blinks out to try and keep her party up. Gonna try and cast Leviathan with Rydia, but is gonna have Rydia fall over, which is gonna be very unfortunate. Gonna keep him from knocking out those arms. And really, at this point in time, it's very much a question of how long does it take for him to get this fight stabilized. Once he gets it stabilized, he should be fine. And the other question, of course, is how much time is it going to waste to dealing with this, because Dingley has reached the moon and is going to be the next one to make the dive. The question is he going to be bottom up or top down on it?
Yeah, we'll have to see from how a Stone Dingley gets through this lunar subterranean.
Point back, I don't think is too far behind. Heading back up here to turn in Sheila 1 for that crystal here. Tybalt going to go ahead and preemptively move his hovercraft over to the Adamant Cave, knowing he doesn't need to go back down Castle Evelyn. So that is... he's not too far behind. Tybalt was a bit behind early on from a couple of little issues that happened here and there. But he has caught up a lot of that time, so this is still a very close race. It looks like Dingley is going to do top down, and it looks like he's found a free officer-soldier fight for it.
Oh yeah, this is going to be a really simple fight.
Yeah, the Baron military is very, very finely trained, and the best note of that is that when you take out their leader, in this case the officer, with a coffin in this case, the other soldiers get confused about which side is the bad guys and hit the ones in the same armor as them and knock each other out with time. So that's going to be pretty good. It's just going to coffin out anyway, so they're not going to get any turns, but very free fight. Also getting the life glitch on that officer, so all that extra XP. There's 9 levels, 3 on the Rosa, 4 on insert pig here. That's a big boost, and that's an Avenger for that Kane, which I'm not sure he has, because again, I can't tell what characters he has.
Yeah, it is kind of fun. I do respect the name meta for Dingley, even if it means it's a little bit kind of tough to see which one is who.
Yeah, meanwhile, Klopfer has taken an unfortunate Beigen wipe. Is going to have to do this fight again. I'm probably hoping that Rydia is not the first knocked out here, but is going to drop a blink on her. As long as she can get the Leviathan out and just keep those Leviathans going, I think he'll be fine. But it's just getting this Beigen fight going that's the big problem here. Hopefully it'll pay off too. It's like we're going to see Dingley head down. The question is, does he head for the Crystal Sword altar, like the standard top down, or does he head further down in first? Meanwhile, Poydrak also has just now hit the moon's underground. There's too many undergrounds in this game. And is going to do this top down as well, so he'll be getting the Avenger from that Officer Soldier fight. Tibble, meanwhile, burning Village Mist with the package for objective number 5, not too far behind them. So this is still a very, very tight race between our 4 runners tonight.
Yeah, this is a very close one amongst the restreamed runners. And I love a good close race when I see it.
Absolutely. I mean, this is... I knew these flags were going to create an interesting race when I saw them, but I didn't expect it to be this close, and it's just a delight to see as always. The big question to me is, who is at that Crystal Sword altar? Who is further in? Dingley is going to go to the Ripper Room first, so we will not see that Crystal Sword yet. Does Poydrak go for that on his way down? Because that's going to be another point. Dingley, unfortunately, or fortunately, while he is going to have the benefit of that Avenger, is now just following Klopfer's footsteps. That's going to put him a little bit behind here. So we'll see what happens from this point onwards. It's still anyone's race.
And Poydrak's been using those life pots to gain more and more experience using that life glitch.
Yeah, I think Dingley got 93,000. Poydrak got 140,000 roughly on all of his characters. So that is a real big bonus. Probably wishing that he'd gotten one more key item before heading there. That's going to be the benefit on Klopfer's side. And Klopfer is only rewarded with a power shirt for getting through that Beigen fight. So unfortunate, that's a bit of a dud, and we'll see where he heads next. But I would imagine it's probably going to be that Ogopogo spot deeper in.
Yeah, deep in within that first room of Crystal Palace, no less.
I think at this point you probably drop a save here and then reset if this doesn't end up paying off. It's not worth keeping the experience, because if you can get through that Ogopogo spot, you can get through anything. So it's probably going to come down to who's at Ogopogo, who's at Crystal Sword, because one or the other has to be something that leads us to progress. It's somewhat likely that both of them are things that lead us to progress, so those might be hard required. I don't think we're going to see any of our runners leave the moon before they get all 5 anyways, so it is just a little bit of a sort of horse race to see who can get through all these bosses the fastest.
And Stone Dingley gonna go ahead and get that pink tail and also that spoon for that Edward.
So we're gonna see the 2 big things is how happy is he gonna be with that, and does he have an Edward? Two very difficult questions that I'm not sure. I'm guessing by the lack of spoon equips that neither of those is Edward, or he has also lost track of what it is. It is Maggot Sisters at the Ogopogo spot. I believe it was, Berserk now in chat saying, Maggot Sisters are brutal at the Ogopogo spot. We're about to see why. It looks like he's gonna try and knock down Mindy first. At least get those attacks stopped, or that might have just been Berserk. I'm not 100% sure because I looked away for a moment, looked back, and there was some Magus Sisters on some wonderful, beautiful tile. But we'll see. This could be a very rough fight if it goes just the wrong way.
Yeah, you do not want to see Magus Sisters on this particular spot. You're hoping that the Magus Sisters would show up elsewhere for that sake of grinding, but there's no way you grind on this.
I have never seen Cindy hit with Ice 2, I think it is, for quad 9s before. That is very rough.
Yeah, and their delta attacks are really they do hurt, and they will knock down a lot of our party here.
Yeah, NG Dave, our tracker, pointing out must take the adamant off Sid. If I am remembering 100% correctly, and please chat, correct me if I'm wrong, when you take the adamant armor off of someone, something kind of gets a little bit messed up somewhere, and it makes you weak to every element instead of resisting them. So that's probably why the quad 9s come out there, and a bit why it's kind of not always a great idea to move adamant armors around once you get them off. And I do know that he did take that adamant armor off of his Sid and pop it onto Rosa for that antlion fight back on the hook route, so that definitely explains that there.
Yeah, and Sandy now is only the one standing. He has to get this knocked down before she revives one of the Magus Sisters, I believe.
Sandy does not have the revive. It's Cindy who has the revive, so this is somewhat fun as long as he can get through. Yeah.
Okay. So Sandy's the one only has the one with the wall, not the heal. Okay, just wanted to make sure. I wasn't sure. I always thought that it was Sandy who did it, because I just assumed the bigger, because she too has a white spell, I believe.
Yeah, she has. It feels like she should be the one with revive, doesn't it? You're right, because she uses wall, she uses charm, and then Cindy, who only attacks, somehow is the one who knows life. But I just saw something that chat's very excited about. I'm quite excited about. Klopfer just found a heart for beating the Magus Sisters. If we don't find Earth Crystal or Baron Crystal at Crystal Sword, and one of those doesn't lead to the other, this might be a mandatory heart seed as well, which I always loved seeing because I loved the heart Easter egg personally.
Yeah, I personally believe that the Twin Harp, and even though we're not going to see it, the random Zerobus sprites are what define Free Enterprise.
Yeah, definitely. For those of you who are new to the randomizer, again, welcome. And secondly, when you get to the Twin Heart spot, I might as well explain this now. When you get to the Twin Heart spot, that is a situation in which normally in Vanilla, some lovely heart music by Edward plays, but we have several arrangements that have been contributed by the wonderful Comlamity, Xenocat, and others who are they're all amazing. And well, for Klopfer, speaking of amazing, how about a nice free King and Queen Evelyn boss at a very weak magic location anyways, just to add on to how little of a threat they're going to pose here to round off his moon run. Well, I guess he's going to have to go up for that officer soldier, or yeah, officers first.
Yeah, you can't find a better spot for King and Queen Evelyn on the moon than this position right there. All Klopfer's going to do is just wait out that timer, that ATB timer, make them feel conscious, and then they just knock themselves out of the fight.
Yeah, there's also a world in which if you have enough damage to knock out King Evelyn, then all Queen Evelyn's script does is check to see if King Evelyn is alive before the start of her turn. So she'll just instantly fall over if the king is gone. That is a Zeus gauntlet. So that is a chain leading from Twin Heart from a Magus Sisters at a hard required Ogopogo spot into Twin Heart, into either Earth Crystal or Baron Key, or Rat Tail or Pan that leads to those two. So one has to lead to the other. This chain is the rest of it. I am very excited for it. Klopfer does not know that yet, though.
Yeah, that's a really nice find for Klopfer.
Yeah, especially because this sort of goes back to his decisions at the very start of the seed, too. Because you gotta kind of think that, well, maybe most everyone in this race would have done everything else before Harp. There's definitely a school of thought that Harp is a bit slow, so if I'm in a race, I'm not going to go for it. In that case, those who skipped Mount Ordeals, like Klopfer didn't get baited into that tower check, might get an advantage as long as he doesn't think, I still have Mount Ordeals, I should check that, in which case it's going to swing back against him because he'll be baited into that tower key check. But we'll see where he goes from here. I think if you go for a moon dive, you get that heart, you're committed to that heart, so hopefully you'll head down that route.
Yeah, I feel as if the harp for Klopfer situation is very tempting. Just because it is something you might as well follow what you found on the moon. You just follow that breadcrumb chain that you had found.
Yeah, and I gotta think that in his mind, he knows that the harp has to pay off, because if it was like Mount Ordeals is Baron Key that leads into Earth Crystal, someone would have finished this race half an hour ago. So just by the fact that we know that there haven't been any finishers in this race, that sort of metagaming probably tells him that the harp is going to pay off somehow. He might not realize that the harp is going to pay off everything, but I think he'll definitely be incentivized to just keep going down that chain.
Yeah, and especially considering too that if that harp does lead to something, which is very likely it could be, either Zot or Baron, then eventually that other check is going to be the other required key item is going to fall right afterwards.
Yeah, the only terminal key item left on the sheet at this point in time is the Luca key. And because of that, we know that the Pan and the Rat Tail have to be somewhere. So it could be, in the worst case scenario, like Heart into Pan, into Rat Tail, into Baron Key, into Earth Crystal would probably be the worst way this could be laid out. So they could have a little bit of a runaround to do at this point, but it really just is a race to get through these last checks and a race to the heart, and it looks like Klopfer is going to be the first to start heading over to Cave Magnus now.
Yeah, I love this play. Just like I said, follow what you found out on the moon. Just follow those breadcrumbs.
I do wonder how his setup looks for getting through the cutscene here at the end of this. I want to say that getting through the cutscene is not going to be a fun time on Klopfer's end. I don't remember if the hold from it goes through Pig or not. I kind of assume it does, but I'm not sure if he has the metallic gear necessary to stop everyone, so we'll see. We might have seen kamikazes for sale somewhere. I might be confusing that with a different seed, though. And for those of you wondering what I'm on about, when we get down here, there's a long cutscene, and you can skip it basically by having your entire party in the defeated state, because that's what triggers the expert cutscene. So we'll see what happens here as he enters into this, only going to have to deal with, well, Rydia Young and Rose up, and it looks like he's just going to eat this cutscene here.
Yeah, and that's not really what you want to see, but it is what it is, as Dark Elf is going to attack Klopfer with a bunch of dark black magic back to back. even though those first two don't do damage to the last one for some reason.
I think it's all coded as one attack, and that's why it's kind of weird. Dingley has taken the Chocobo, I believe, from Baron over here, which is a very wonderful and fun play. But it is music time, so we're going to go ahead and have a listen. Enjoy, everyone. We are going to get a very brief moment before we head into a wonderful second round of this music over on Dingley's side. We're going to see what this Evil Wall grants, and it is going to be the Baron key. So we'll go ahead and give you another round of music here, but very exciting there. So here's the question, is what does this Baron key lead to? Does it lead to further chain, or does it lead straight to the Earth Crystal? We've got two bosses to go over on Klopfer's side. And Boydrak going ahead down to say hi to Zeromus and go for this wonderful Easter egg here. Fu gonna come closer very, very slowly here.
I love this so much. And yeah, I've of all the Mario Kart 64 tracks, I absolutely love Sherberland. Whatever it's called. Like, it's such a good track.
It is. I don't know who arranged that one for the harp, but I know most of our harp arrangements are either by Calamity or by Xenocat at this point, and they've done both of them have done absolutely amazing job with all the music. I know I got an Okami theme in a seed I played the other day that was also excellent. So it's always a treat seeing that. We are going to see these dolls just go ahead and fall over to one Leviathan on Klopfer's end. Whoever's on the throne probably will fall over in one hit. This is just a real sprint to the finish at this point.
Yeah, that K-Moon coming in, just proving that, yes, this is going to be required no matter what. And we even top it off, we do have a vanilla Kainazo.
I think Poitrak is like really committing to the showing off of the new stuff, and it looks like he's going to go through the giant to show off the pig cutscene replacing the character cutscene at the end of the giant. So, like was mentioned in chat, real runner of the people tonight.
Yeah, mad props to the Poidrak for showing this off.
All right, we got a little bit of a walk on Klopfer's end before we get to the actual key item here, and we will end up seeing who, or what is there, rather. This is going to be very important here.
I quite like that new animation that's in the beta. It's really good.
It's very, very good. Harp and Sheila statues. I think the other day I had White Mage and Leg, which was really interesting. So that was fun. And there's the Pan. So we're headed back underground. The question is Pan gonna be the Earth Crystal or is Pan gonna be the Rat Tail?
Yeah, this is what I like to consider a proxy for that last Go Mode item.
It is, and this must feel really annoying, I'll be honest with you. Is that you know that you're gonna, you know that this is probably leading to your last key item here. You just gotta push through the rest of it. Although on Klopfer's end, he might be a bit concerned on whether or not that Earth Crystal might be behind that ordeals, but he is fully committed to it at this time.
And Stone Dingley knocking down that Vanilla Kainazo. Gonna go ahead and get that Pan and check out what essentially what I kind of noticed is that this new cutscene is actually faster.
Just a little bit too, and that's another thing where it's nice to hopefully see that that pig is just there saying T, which might not be intended behavior here. These are beta flags.
Hey, at least we get to see this on live on Restream.
That does make seeing a bug report very easy on this one at very least. So we'll get through that pretty soon. Meanwhile, Stone Dingley through that Baron check is still following Klopfer's footsteps, but there's not really many chances to catch up time here, and Dingley still has to sit through that package scene. That might be a bit rough.
But that Earth Crystal has finally showed up.
He's probably very happy that there's not a rat tail there.
Yeah, this was an interesting flag set, and this was a equally very interesting seed all the way through.
Yeah, it is really, really interesting. We know that there's elements at that Magus Sister spot. We don't know what's at the top of tower here, but there's nothing that can really stand in anyone's way at this point. It really just is a question of, are we going to have another finisher? And with that, actually, right as I was saying that, we actually have had a first place finisher off stream. It is going to be Pyre with a time of 1:30.54. So GG's to Pyre and congratulations to them on their win tonight. Of course, we still have our restream to settle here. Klopfer looking like he's in a pretty good way to get through there, but we'll see how this falls out from here.
Yeah, that was an excellent performance by Pyre, and we'll just see who amongst our restreamers will take the first place spot, and we'll give the official overall result once that crops up.
Definitely, and looks like Dingley now on his way out of a bowl, so going to be right behind Poidrak, about to give us round 3 of music, which I am very excited for and definitely going to be listening to. And as I am talking, Beer Nerd has finished in second place with a time of 1:31.57, so GG's to them as well on their second place here. Klopfer hopefully holding on for third, but this is getting quite a tense run for him too at this point.
Yeah, we're gonna be seeing these finishers fly by, and there's just one more podium spot left to claim here.
I just want to take a quick moment out of this to give a shout out to Zoe Vermillion for all of her wonderful work on the randomizer with this beta patch, as well as Boardface, of course, who's other developer on it, and of course to Scala Kitty for all of her artwork as well, and everyone else on the team for really being on top of things with bugs too, and really you report a bug and it's basically done with and fixed within a day, and it's just always really impressive to watch. And we're gonna see this Dark Knight fight to the finish here.
Yeah, and as we mentioned it too, Anti-Deal has finished in third with a time of 1:32:41. So all of the podium spots have been claimed here. It's just a matter of who will make it to the top 5.
Yeah, it's looking like Klopfer's making a very, very strong case for fourth place. Obviously, we'll see when he finishes right on this stream, and we'll be able to hopefully pick his brain in an interview afterwards as well. Dingley now through that Elements fight, going to be hot on Klopfer's heels here. Definitely has a chance of finishing in that top 5. Tybalt now making his way into the Twin Heart fight, so he'll be not too far along. I do believe we did just talk through Poitrak's fight there, but there was a lot going on at that moment, so you have to forgive us on that one.
And as Klopfer is going to go ahead and exit out here, that will be the final objective for Klopfer, right where Cecil's bed is.
I like that visual of just bed is it. Dingley is going to have to go back and do the package cutscene, so that will be a little bit longer for him. But Klopfer will be our fourth place finisher tonight with a time of 1:34:13. GG's to him, and we'll see if we can get him in for an interview here very shortly.
Yeah, excellent performance by Klopfer. Did an excellent job on what has been a really interesting seed, and again, like I mentioned, a very, very interesting flag set put out by the devs.
Yep, another very wonderful challenge here. Still, Dingley has to get through that, but he should be very shortly. We have not seen fifth place yet, but it is time for Tybalt's music here, so...
Hey there.
And with that, we are joined by tonight's on-stream winner, overall fourth place Klopfer. GG's. And just before we start this interview, a real quick note to everyone that we have had our fifth place finisher off-stream, Roger McBain, with a time of 1:35:34, and Dingley 1:35:36 in sixth place, so 2 seconds difference between them. But Klopfer, congratulations and GG's on your run tonight.
Hey, thanks, GG's to everyone in that. That's definitely there. Sniped there by Roger McBain with 2 seconds. Always fun to see those.
Yeah, this was definitely a very close race, both on the restream and apparently off. And I wanted to start off by asking you real quick, what did you think of these flags tonight?
Definitely big surprise constantly for me was not getting characters everywhere I would expect them to be, and it just continuously surprised me. So that was kind of fun. I'm sure you saw me walk into Evelyn Cave looking to pick up another character to round out my party, and it probably took me about 30 minutes into this seed to realize I already had all of my characters. This was my party. So that definitely was a little fun wrench to throw into things. The everything being free is also fun. I like buying all this stuff. It's a little overwhelming. I think you saw I filled up my inventory very early and ran into problems with that. So you definitely need to be a little careful with all the power that comes with buying everything for free.
Yeah, definitely. It's always a difficult balance between when you're going to fight the inventory boss and when you can just grab everything off the shelves possible. And one thing I want to go back to that you did, or in this case didn't do, that everyone else on stream did, is fading mount ordeals. Were you ever tempted to go back to that at any point?
I was very tempted when Moon ended up being kind of such a empty spot. I was really hoping, oh, Moon will have a whole bunch of key items, give me a bunch of routes to go down. And when I didn't hit anything there, other than the Twin Harp to follow up on, I was getting pretty worried. But at that point, it was also so deep into the race, I'm like, I just have to stick with the fading ordeals. And so I went with it. And when I finally did see that Earth Crystal, I was very happy.
Yeah, fortunately for you, it ended up just that super cannon did not amount to anything. So you end up dodging quite a big distraction if you were to have picked that up.
Excellent, that is good. I suppose it was a little tricky. It also made me almost want to not go to tower since I didn't have that tower key, although it turned out to be very important to go there. So there's a chance of me from not doing ordeals and also choosing to fade top of tower, and I think that got package, which was required. So I was glad I chose not to fade that part.
Yeah, I mean, you made a lot of really good choices throughout the seed. I mean, it's not to take away from anyone else who made the different choices that just didn't pay off as much this time, but it was a real treat seeing you get through all this, and it felt like a very fast seed for how sort of intricately laid out everything ended up being and how much it really tempted you into not going to the sort of last thing you need there.
Yeah, definitely. And it also felt very fast, I think, because it's knowing, hey, just finish your objectives and you're done. So you didn't really have to worry about, hey, when am I going to fit my grind in here? Once I was kind of clearing out moon bosses, I went, okay, I can struggle through the last few if any of these spots are mean. And that's fine. Once I'm done the moon, everything else is going to be so easy comparatively. I don't care what my levels are, although clearing the full moon ended up with some pretty high levels anyway. But yeah, definitely that objectives to win really make things feel fast, and again, kind of incentivize wanting to do things like fade certain locations just because of how quickly you can reach the end in a flag set like this.
Yeah, and there is so also one thing I do want to ask you, how are you liking the current changes that are in this beta?
So this is actually the very first beta flag set I played. So I'd say the things I saw in there I very much did like. I was pleasantly surprised when all of a sudden during Liberate Baron, statues actually popped up to stop the closing of the walls. That was a lot of fun. For I suppose the gameplay changes, none of them really jumped out to me other than the fact these flags I knew were going to be on. I definitely think there's a lot of fun to be had in some of these new flags, like the characters are not present at the places you'd expect to get them. I think that'll be fun in a lot of different flag sets, so it'll be good to see those. But overall, liking the beta stuff so far. I'll definitely play some more.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that there's real potential for a lot of interesting flag sets that are sort of challenging different things, and I think this one definitely sort of proves that that's a possibility tonight. Just one other big question I have is, what sort of led you to settle on the party composition that you had? I know you mentioned that you had the sort of a bit of an issue with the no earned, but would you have changed anything if you'd have sort of already known that was going to be the case going into it?
So I wasn't actually terribly happy with my party, but I just kind of kept going with it. Once I had an adamant armor, I didn't worry too much and just pushed through. But definitely I hadn't thought too much about the fact all the male characters were pigs, and mainly that meant I couldn't berserk any of them, which really made a lot of them not feel as strong as they could have been. And so when I dropped Porum early on to pick up someone, later on I was really regretting that because it felt so much better to have non-picky characters, and having not done that. that being said, I'm glad I kept Edward around, who's probably the character I would have dropped, because when that spoon finally did come in and I had an admin armor, I could do spoon-word things, and that made me happy.
Yeah, definitely. Professor, did you have any other questions for Klopfer before we start to wrap up this interview here?
No, honestly, like, again, you did an excellent performance. Top 5, top 10. It is a really good performance all the way through.
Thank you very much. Also, just big shout out as always to the Free Enterprise community. Everyone in here is just great, very fun to play with all these people, and big thanks for putting on these community races and streaming of them. It's a lot of fun to both participate and watch.
Absolutely. And did you have any other final thoughts for us tonight, Klopfer?
I was just saying, anyone who was watching and thought the flag set looked fun, it is. You should definitely just make a seed for yourself and play through it.
Definitely agree. I made sure to try one out myself earlier, and it was a lot of fun. So if you're watching at home, make sure you follow the advice, and also make sure you follow all of our runners as well. And thank you again, Klopfer, for the interview. And again, GG's for tonight.
Thanks, everyone. Well,
during the course of that interview, we did have a 7th place finisher, Rybon, with a time of 1:37.36, and an 8th place finisher, Gale Swift, with a time of 1:37.54. So GG's to both of them, another pair of close finishers. Stone Dingley has declined an interview for tonight, so we will not be speaking with him, but GG's again to him on a very well-run race and a very fun-to-watch race as well. And now, both Tybalt and Poydrak are here in this tower, getting close to the finish.
Yeah, Poydrak ended up going ahead and actually just doing a treasury while we were doing an interview. So,
The true runner of the people tonight, honestly, and I'm sad that I didn't really get the chance to see much of it, but I am told by chat that it was not that impressive of a treasury, unfortunately. Again, you know, everyone in this race has run really, really good races. I kind of like this sort of wind down that we've got going on here, where you get through the hard part, and now we're just on the victory lap at this point.
Yeah, and that's one of the nice things about this finish. It's just that at this point in the race, you've gone over the big hurdle. Now it's time to just go ahead and clean house.
Definitely, and Tybalt here in the Elements fight, Poydrak almost to that final fight in Tower, that boss that melted instantly that I have already forgotten what it was, if I'm being 100% honest. So it shows how little the bosses threaten our players right now that I just completely have forgotten what the last one is. And there go the pigs. The pigs are freed. Dark Knight Cecil, thank you. Again, shoutouts to our tracker, NG Dave, and shoutouts to Alzel, our restreamer, for a wonderful, wonderful seed to have rolled, because I think this seed also is like the best ideal of how to show off this flag set too.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And we've already seen all the really cool things that this new beta is bringing into the table, changing the way that some of how we basically make seeds or make these flags. The back row toggle is one of the more interesting things that I have seen, because the back row for me when I first started playing this is like the quintessential change, and being able to toggle that is going to provide a lot of interesting party compositions and different strategies.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to when we get to the next tournament time and seeing what the flags look like for them, because there's so much in these beta branches that if they're out by the time that the tournament starts will be really, really interesting to see, because we're going to have, you know, buffs to Rydia with change to her summons. We saw it roll Leviathan here, as we do see Poydrak heading across the finish line here, crawling into bed. good night pig with a time of 1:47:03, and we are going to see Tybalt finishing up here very, very close behind, as looks like he is going to be finishing here in 10th place with a time of 1:47:07. We'll see if he wants to drop in for an interview. But sort of back to what I was saying, it's like there's so many subtle little things like that Rydia change and like that I think are really going to shake things up, and I'm excited for tournament time because not only that, but our community gets stronger and stronger every passing day. We see people who it feels like started out a month or two ago in here winning races, getting very close to the top, and it's just gonna be a great time when we get there. But again, GG's to both Poydrak and Tybalt. We're gonna see if Tybalt wants to drop by for an interview. We do still have a few runners off stream as well, and I believe that does mean we are joined by Tybalt in 10th place tonight, unfortunately by a few seconds. GG's to you.
GG's. Sniped again.
It was deeply unfortunate. I was watching that and I'm like, oh, this is going to be seconds apart. We can call it a tie if you want.
Yeah. Technical tie, you know.
Exactly. So I want to start off by asking you, what did you think of the flags for tonight's race? 10th place tonight.
Quite interesting. I've never actually played with Sino earned, so I was not sure exactly which characters you weren't able to get. So it was kind of interesting seeing the pig from Sandruby just run off. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that was a very interesting moment too. Very entertaining, at least, to see the pig go off. So, you know, at least you got something out of it in that respect there.
Yeah.
So I want to ask, how did that Sino Earn flag change how you approach the seed in terms of like your party composition? Like, were you happy with what you had for a party, or were you hoping that you might have found, say, that Cecil or Edge that didn't show up in this seed?
I was actually hoping for a Cecil, to be honest. And when I realized that Sino Earn meant no characters besides just the free ones, well, I'm stuck with it. So if I'm stuck with it, I might as well just... Here's my party. Oh, look, Crystal Sword. Nope. So that kind of felt bad.
Yeah, and that was interesting because normally with these really strong weapons just don't get used. Kane honestly was probably one of the best early game party members that you could have had. And then that Rosa just carried you through, even if you started with it, which it was. It just speaks balance on how interesting this flag set is.
Oh yeah, and it's not the first time that I've dealt with the Mega Sisters at that spot, so I knew when I saw Mega Sisters, this is gonna hit hard. Oh boy. Kane's fine except for the virus. Okay. Let's play Life Roulette, and then wiping after that and not have saved after doing White Spear and Ribbon. I'm like, there's no value there besides a spoon for Edward, an adamant that I'm not going to get, and a power shirt. I don't need them. I'm good.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, we saw up on Klopfer's end, he'd had a Sid that he had an adamant armor on and had taken it off, and then Ice 2 hit the Sid for quad 9. So that's when we realized this is going to be a bit of a journey getting past this fight here.
Yeah, you want to see a 3K lit 2? Yeah, that's the spot right there. That spot has high attack and high magic. It's a very dangerous location.
Yeah, and that definitely was proven here for this particular race here, and at least you got through it. And I was commenting, there's like normally if it's anywhere else, this would be a good grind if you keep Cindy up, but in that spot, there's no way you grind that.
No, and at that point, it's just you got to get Mindy down and then start chunking at Cindy, and you got to rinse, lather, repeat. I was actually kind of planning to jump the viruses once it was just Kane alive, so I'm glad I was able to pull that off.
Yeah, definitely. And you did a very good job getting through those fights. You know, it's really interesting how that sort of like win game kind of changes the way you approach things too. Because of course, no one bothered taking any level grinds or anything like that. Did you feel like you were? I mean, did you always feel like you were in a good spot, or did you think that there was any sort of risk towards going towards the moon bosses when you went for them?
Well, after doing the alt gauntlet at the tower key and getting nothing, I felt behind, and I figured that people were probably going to get the darkness and go straight to the moon, especially if you cleared out Evelyn and got the adamant armor there. If you got an adamant, you can almost full clear the moon with what's up there. Just to show you how strong that piece of armor is.
Yeah, definitely. Were you ever tempted to go to the moon earlier than you did either?
No, I was doing a bunch of metagaming, figuring a lot of people would go to the moon early. Well, I'm going to stay on Earth and clear this out and hope that my gamble pays off.
Yeah, I think everyone actually ended up going for the Earth too, so it might have been everyone metagaming each other there.
I don't think going top down would have changed anything. Like, an adventure would have been nice earlier on, but in that particular situation, it wouldn't have really changed the Magus Sisters fight or even like Plague, or it may have changed Bigen, but that's about it.
Definitely. I mean, at that point in time where you knew that it was going to end the seed more or less, you probably weren't going to be tempted to leave the moon at any point unless you saw both that Baron Key and Earth Crystal in hand anyways.
Yeah.
Professor, did you have any other questions for Tybalt here?
No, other than it was a good race all the way through. Top 10, and that's really good. It's just all the way through. All these runners making it in the top 10 is incredible.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of top tier runners out there, and I've been classified as one of them before, but I really don't feel like it, so.
I think probably there's a lot of people who feel the same thing, but definitely in my eyes, you're one of the top ones, or at very least, you're one of the most fun to watch because you'll always make the decisions that are more interesting to see for us on the stream. So, thank you for that.
Not a problem.
Tybalt, did you have any final thoughts for us for tonight?
No, thanks for the restream. Thanks for the commentary. I always love watching these back, and I tend to learn from commentary, so it'll be good.
All right. Well, again, GG's, and thank you so much for joining us for this interview as well. Off stream, we have had a couple more finishers that we should read off before we go into our sign off for tonight. We have had Scythe Marshall finish in 11th place with a time of 1:52.27, and Warlink 05 in 12th place with a time of 1:54.32. So GG's to both of them, and I think that's going to be it for tonight, Professor.
Yeah, this was incredible experience for me. Thanks for the restreamer tracker, all that, just invited me on for my first rodeo within Free Enterprise.
Definitely. And with that, we are going to first give you a quick reminder, of course, tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time here on the Free Enterprise channel is the Spoil Sports Community Club race, which is a club that runs with the spoiler log and gives our runners a bit of time to route out the seed before they run it. So it's always a really, really interesting test of skill. So we hope we'll see you there for it. We're going to be sending you over to Super Joe now, who is running some Pink Puff League flags. So make sure that you give them all of the love that our community has, and we'll see you next time for myself, as well as a thank you again to all four of our runners, and Alizal on the restream, and NG Dave on the tracker, as well as Professor Render, my co-commentator. I have been Eth, and hope to continue to be for the foreseeable future. Have a good night, everyone.
Take it easy.